Back in 2017, an unnamed man recently made an astonishing claim that has reignited local legends and captured the imagination of the wider Bigfoot community. The man who discovered the photograph has chosen to remain anonymous, but his story has resonated with many who are fascinated by the unexplained. After his grandfather passed away, the man was tasked with sorting through his belongings, a somber task that led him to uncover a hidden treasure, an old, faded photograph that immediately stood out. The black and white image, taken in a snow-covered forest, depicts two figures that appear to be a large humanoid creature and a smaller one, walking along a path through the trees. The figures are covered in dark, thick hair, with the larger one towering over the smaller, and their features are distinctly ape-like. The photograph itself is haunting in its simplicity. The snow-covered path, flanked by barren trees, adds an eerie quality to the scene. The figures, seemingly unaware of the camera, are captured mid-stride, suggesting motion and purpose. For the man who found it, the photograph is more than just an image. It is a connection to a mystery that his grandfather may have been aware of, and perhaps even experienced firsthand. The most striking aspect of the photograph is the two figures, which the man believes to be an adult and a juvenile Bigfoot. The larger figure, which is assumed to be the adult, exhibits the classic characteristics often associated with Bigfoot sightings: a massive, muscular build, long arms that hang by its sides, and a head that sits directly on its shoulders with no apparent neck. The creature's posture and stride suggest a bipedal gait, and its body is covered in a thick coat of fur that blends with the shadows of the forest. The smaller figure, interpreted as a juvenile Bigfoot, walks slightly behind the larger one. Its stature is significantly smaller, but it shares the same physical traits, including the fur-covered body and humanoid shape. The presence of a juvenile adds a layer of complexity to the sighting, suggesting that these creatures, if they exist, may have social structures similar to other primates, where the young are nurtured and protected by adults. One of the most tantalizing aspects of this photograph is that the exact location where it was taken is unknown. The man who found the photograph has no clear indication of where his grandfather might have taken it, or even when it was captured. The snow-covered ground and the type of trees in the background suggest a northern, possibly mountainous region, but this is purely speculative. The lack of information regarding the location only deepens the mystery, as it leaves open the possibility that this could be one of many remote areas where such creatures might exist undetected. Without specific details, the photograph remains a puzzle piece in the larger Bigfoot mystery, a piece that hints at the possibility of these creatures' existence, but does not provide enough information to confirm or debunk the sighting. Why would the man's grandfather keep such a photograph hidden? This question has led to much speculation. It is possible that the grandfather, knowing how controversial and polarizing the subject of Bigfoot can be, chose to keep the photograph private to avoid ridicule or skepticism. Alternatively, he may have had personal reasons for keeping the image a secret. Perhaps it was a memento from a personal experience he was unwilling or unable to share with others. The fact that the photograph was found among the grandfather's belongings suggests that it held some significance to him. Whether he believed it to be definitive proof of Bigfoot's existence or simply an intriguing anomaly is something we may never know. What is clear is that this image was important enough for him to keep, even if he chose not to share it with the world during his lifetime. Bigfoot has long been a symbol of the unknown, representing the possibility that there are still mysteries in our world that remain unexplained. The legend of Bigfoot has persisted for generations, fueled by sightings, footprints, and stories passed down through time. The discovery of this photograph adds another layer to the legend, providing a tangible piece of evidence that, while not definitive, encourages us to keep questioning and exploring. The photograph also serves as a reminder that our understanding of the world is far from complete. Whether Bigfoot is a real creature, a product of folklore, or a combination of both, the search for answers continues to captivate the imagination of people around the world. Adirondacks, Bigfoot mass sighting. From August to late December, back in 1976, one of the most documented and strangest cases of a Bigfoot encounter was recorded outside the small town of Whitehall. Although the event would be largely dismissed by skeptics of the modern day. Among Bigfoot researchers, The town continues to be a prime target when investigating Sasquatch-like encounters and claims. Being the epicenter of one of the strangest cases of a Bigfoot encounter, the rural town of Whitehall, New York, holds a special place for the terrifying creature sighting that occurred on the night of August 24, 1976. The incident began with 3 local teenagers, Martin Paddock, Paul Gosselin, and Bart Kinney, who reported seeing a massive, brown, hairy creature standing out in a field off a bare road located on the outskirts of Whitehall. The teenagers were so spooked that they quickly fled the scene, leaving behind the telltale sign of their terror, a 60-foot-long black rubber skid mark on the road. The next day, farmer Harry Deacle, who lived within a mile of the sighting, claimed to have discovered big, human footprints in a nearby field, along with a ravaged deer carcass that looked almost as if the animal had become torn apart every which way. Deacle also revealed that a similar creature to what the 3 teenagers claimed to have seen had been spotted in the area back in 1959. Later that same evening, at around 10 in the evening, Martin Paddock and Paul Gosselin were driving along a bare road when they saw a massive, hulking figure standing on the roadside. The group described the creature as having muscular shoulders while standing at an imposing 7 to 8 feet tall. The group decided to turn around and get a closer look, parking on the side of the road. As they watched, they heard a strange noise that sounded like a woman screaming and a pig squealing, and suddenly they spotted the creature again, this time in a field 70 feet away. Terrified, Paddock sped off to the local police station to get the police, who were initially skeptical of the group's claims. The next night, Paul's brother Brian, an off-duty Whitehall police officer, went to the site with a New York State trooper to see if they could spot the creature. At around midnight, Brian Gosselin was turning his police car around in the middle of a bare road when he claimed to have spotted a pair of red eyes reflecting off his headlights. He quickly shut off the lights and radioed the trooper, who shone his spotlight on a nearby hedgerow. At that moment, Brian Gosselin heard the sound of something crashing through the brush and trees, and when he turned his headlights back on, he saw the creature again, just 30 feet away. Brian Gosselin, frozen with fear, knelt down and aimed his Magnum service revolver at the creature, but would later tell investigators that he couldn't bring himself to fire because it looked too human. The creature stood there for a moment, allowing Brian Gosselin to get a good look at it. Brian described the creature as covered in dark brown, almost black hair, with large reddish eyes that bulged roughly half an inch off its face. It had no discernible ears or tail, and its arms hung just about 8 to 10 inches below its knees. The creature walked with a hunch and didn't run, but could move quickly while seemingly walking or jumping. Brian Gosselin said that the back end of the creature's hair was worn off and its buttocks were visible through the hair. The encounter ended with the creature letting out a bone-chilling scream before vanishing into the darkness. Initially, the police officers and individuals involved in the case believed that the last sighting had been the end of the event and would try to resume their lives as best as they could following the event. Though many members of the community were skeptical of the entire encounter, the officers involved would put their jobs on the line to attest to its truth. Interestingly enough, only a few weeks later would the event culminate into one of the strangest experiences. Whitehall, a serene and peaceful community surrounded by lush forests and rolling hills, suddenly found itself at the center of a storm of mysterious happenings that would put the courage and expertise of its police force to the test. It all began one day in autumn, several weeks after the first incident, when a local police sergeant named Wilfred, a seasoned and respected law enforcement officer with years of experience in the field, ventured into the woods near the intersection of a bare road and Route 22A for a routine hunting trip. As he was scanning the area for signs of prey, he suddenly heard a bone-chilling sound that sent shivers down his spine. An eerie, high-pitched yell that seemed to come from nowhere and lingered in the air for what felt like an eternity. Wilfred, often considered to be a man of great courage and composure, later described the sound as unforgettable and unlike anything he had ever heard before. He immediately realized that something was not right and looked around to see if he could spot any signs of danger or disturbance. To his surprise and confusion, he saw a group of cows stampeding out of a nearby field as if something had spooked them. Wilfred's hunting partner, his brother Russell, also heard the strange noise and emerged from the woods pale-faced and visibly shaken. Despite their best efforts to investigate the matter further, the brothers could not find any trace of the source of the eerie yell, nor could they explain why the cows had been so agitated. They reported the incident to their colleagues at the Whitehall Police Department, who took note of the strange occurrence and filed it away as a curious but ultimately inconclusive event. Just a few days after Wilfred's encounter, another remarkable incident was recorded in the area that would go down in history as one of the most extraordinary and controversial sightings of all time. On the evening of September 1st, 1976, a man from the nearby town of Granville burst into the Whitehall police station in a state of panic and excitement, claiming that he had just shot Bigfoot. When McFarren arrived at the police station, he was still shaking and visibly distraught. He recounted the encounter in vivid detail, describing the creature as a massive and fearsome animal that looked like nothing he had ever seen before. A search party was organized, consisting of state and local law enforcement officers, as well as a number of curious residents who wanted to see the creature for themselves. They traveled to the site where McFarren had allegedly encountered Bigfoot, hoping to find some evidence of the creature's existence. To their disappointment, they found only a spent shotgun shell and no trace of the mysterious creature. Despite the lack of tangible evidence, McFarren's story had already spread throughout the town and beyond, capturing the imaginations of many and sparking a renewed interest in the phenomenon of Bigfoot. Due to the several other sightings of Bigfoot encounters throughout the Adirondacks and the town of Whitehall, the location has been considered a Bigfoot hotspot since the late 1970s and continues to this day to be a center of focus for Bigfoot researchers.